food in general. No iced things, nothing like that. So I've been rotating between a few beverages that I can tell you about, so you can try. I've been rotating between a nettle tea, a stinging nettle tea, and red raspberry leaf infusion. And you can let that steep for around 4 hours and then drink that throughout the day. I have like a big thermos that I try to keep by my bed, especially in those first few weeks. And especially when you're nursing all around the clock, your days are so watery. There's no difference between day and night in a way. You're waking up every few hours regardless. And I found that thermos by my bed with that warm, nourishing infusion or tea was so helpful at the 3 a.m. wake up when I was so thirsty, because I'm just constantly giving out so much with breastfeeding. So I did that. I did another blend with stinging nettle leaf, red raspberry, but then also with oat, like milky oat, and I'm blanking for lemon balm. Yeah, so that is really good for helping to calm the nervous system. And that's a shorter infusion of around 30 minutes. And then I also did a traditional tea that's inspired by Chinese medicine that I got the recipe from this book that I mentioned. And that is red date. So these are Chinese dates. They're not the typical dates that you eat and put in desserts. It's something totally different. So red Chinese dates and organic goji berries. And it's about an hour-long brew, and you add the goji berries in at the last 20 minutes. So this is a really amazing infusion or tea for building your blood and getting all that warmth back and restoring your yin. And I think it's super yummy. It's very sweet, but in a nice way. It's kind of syrupy, and I really craved that kind of taste in the first couple of weeks especially. And then I've also been doing a rehydration drink, which I put lime juice. You can also do lemon juice, honey, sea salt, baking soda, and some spirulina. So that's super refreshing. I don't get it too cold though. I just make it at room temperature. And super hydrating. And the spirulina gives you some extra boost as well. And I also made placenta smoothies for the first couple of weeks, and this is a whole sort of other video perhaps on how to work with the placenta. But just really quick, we ended up doing a lotus birth, and what I did, because the placenta was attached to him for the first 3 days. So what I did on the very first day was I cut off some pieces from the back of the placenta. So if you look at the placenta, and the front looks like a tree, so it has all the veins. The back is what I'm talking about, that doesn't have those veins that look like a tree. And so you can choose a few little chunks of that. You can make one really dense smoothie. Have your support team do this for you on day one. With some berries, maybe some banana. I think I used hemp milk in mine, and I used some collagen powder as well, and some spirulina too. And you make one really dense smoothie, and then you pour that into an ice cube tray. So then you create kind of mini smoothies that then you can add one to like a normal size smoothie every day for the first 10 to 14 days. And that'll really help you get your iron back, restore your blood, balance your hormones. There's tons of anecdotal benefits around consuming your placenta. If you care to look into that, there's a lot of information out there. You could also make placenta capsules. You could do placenta prints, where you put it down on a piece of paper. We did that as well. You can make homeopathy from it, and you can make a tincture, which I highly recommend. In that day one, taking another little chunk, putting it in vodka or some other alcohol. We used mezcal because that's what we have here, and then you have that during your quarantine period. During your first 40 days, you let that sit, and then you strain it off into a tincture bottle. And this is amazing because you can use it when you go through menopause, and it's going to help you. And this tincture won't go bad as long as you keep it out of the daylight. So yeah, there's a lot one could talk about placenta, but I'm just trying to hit the basics. So we talked about rest, we talked about food. Let's talk about warmth. It's really important that you stay warm. You can see this in all cultures as well who practice this traditional 40-day stay-in. There's an emphasis on warmth. Some cultures take it super seriously and they're covered from head to toe, even if it's really hot outside. I wasn't actually that hardcore about it, but I definitely respected it in the first 3 weeks. I stayed super warm, and it's actually pretty hot here now, so I'm starting to kind of wear some tank tops here and there when I feel it. But yeah, staying in bed under the covers, wearing socks. You might want to do vaginal steaming, which has tons of benefits you can check out. There was a study that Kimberly and Johnson did with Steamy Chick. I'm blanking on her name. That's her handle. Kelly Garza, I believe. They did an amazing study of postpartum mothers, and they did vaginal steaming, I think starting on day 3, and they saw just incredible benefits from recovering from birth if you had tearing or if you had mild prolapse and all kinds of other things. So this is something I also did every single day for the first few weeks, and I'm still doing it here and there. And it's also a way to bring warmth into the body, and you cover yourself up with a blanket and you really can sweat a lot. Again, this is a big topic, so I can't cover everything about vaginal steaming, but I'll just plant that seed, and if you want to look further into that, you can. So yeah, baths, traditional baths with different herbs and flowers. They do that here in Mexico. Yeah, stay warm. That's the basics. Just stay warm. Don't drink cold things. Eat hot things. Stay in bed. Keep your socks on. Don't let a big cold draft come into you and get your back and your neck really cold. That's not good for you, according to all of these different cultures who are it's amazing for me when you find something that's in so many different places around the world. There has to be truth to it, in my opinion. So rest, nourishment, warmth, and keeping in mind who your community really is, who you can talk to about your emotions, who you feel comfortable with processing, who you feel comfortable with just having a cry fest. You're going to go through a lot of different emotions in your postpartum period, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have postpartum depression. You don't have to jump to that conclusion. It's really normal to be in that watery state and to feel a lot of different things. You might have some grief come up from grieving your old way of life. You might have immense bliss and joy come up. You might have grief come up just watching this little one grow so much. That often happens to me, that I cry because of just how big they are suddenly. Even after a week and you're watching their foot grow or whatever, and it makes you cry. So who can you share those moments with? Have that figured out, have that written down before you actually give birth, so you know who those people are, even if they're far away and it's a phone call. You have that kind of community set up for yourself. So let's see. Don't be afraid to receive. You are worth this. Like I said before, this impacts you for many, many, many years to come. Think about what self-care really means to you, and think about ways you can really set that up for yourself. Touch is another thing that you'll see across all of these different cultures, an emphasis on body work, whether that's massage for you or maybe a bit of acupuncture as well, cranial sacral work. I got some osteopath work. Here in Mexico, they do some beautiful things like a closing of the bones ceremony. You can also see this across many cultures, and they do it in different ways, but here they wrap you from head to toe, slowly going through each body part and closing you, and it's not just a physical thing but an energetic thing as well. They do some massage on the womb to help make sure the uterus is back into place. So whatever that might be for you, look into that again before you give birth, so that that's really in place. You have your contacts ready to call. If you're wanting a massage, you have that a little bit of extra money set aside to do those things if at all possible. Ask your family to support you in this. The thing is, too, you're going to need to educate people around this, because this is wisdom that has been lost for the most part. And so it's a re-education. It's an education process that you'll have to do for yourself if you don't know much about it, but then you're also going to have to educate your partner and your family and your friends, because people don't really know. People don't really get it. okay, this is another thing I really want to touch on before I say goodbye in this video. You're so sensitive energetically,